close my eyes, turn away from all the lies, from the wolves in sheep's disguise. Justice matters. Can't just walk away from the wrongs we see today. All the games that people play. Justice matters.
And let's say his voice, I think, has the potential to penetrate bubbles and to drill into demographics that, frankly, me running my mouth on MSNBC and Andrew, no offense, running his mouth on MSNBC, I don't think we're penetrating that demographic the way some others can penetrate that demographic because of who he is and what he's done and the way people feel about him. That's the choice he made. Yep. And I'm going to turn to a personal note, and then I promise I'm going to introduce him. And I know my wife is shooting me death glares. So I want to talk just for a minute on a personal note. We've been up here a few days. Bob offered to let us have this incredible space and hold our New York Team Justice Happy Hour up here. And over the last few days, he has been, I can't talk about the great movie actor piece, you all know that, but what I can talk about is what I've experienced in recent days. He is the warmest, most gracious, most generous person who has spent so much time and attention on me, gutter kid from Jersey, on my wife, on our son. Sometimes you gotta say what's on your mind and what's in your heart. And he is in my heart, he is in our heart, he is in the nation's heart for the choice that he has made to get into the arena and fight the effing enemy. And that's what he's doing. So with that, let me introduce not only a legend and an icon, but a democracy warrior, Bob De Niro.
I've learned so much from Donald Trump. And I always used to think, just before, when he was in 2016, that, you know, he'll lay claim to, well, you know, I shook it up after he lost to Hillary Clinton. Of course, no, he has shaken up beyond anything I ever could have imagined. Any of us could have imagined. But anyway, aside from that, so when I invited Glenn to hold this event here in the hotel, I thought this would just be a start. You know, soon I could get millions from China, more from the Middle East, and could even sell rooms to some shithole countries. And then, when the event was over, my son could get a couple of billion from Saudi Arabia. Best. I'm going to stop before I go on about you know who. But I'm happy to tell you how warm I feel about the people in this room. You don't know it, but I spend a lot of time watching many of you who are on MSNBC. And I'm talking about the time I spend watching. I do watch it. As the State of the Union gets all of us out of our fucking minds, I find comfort in the virtual company of smart and sensitive and good people reporting the news, filling the gaps, and explaining the law with clarity, humanity, and honesty. I don't understand Fox News, what they do, they get out of it for what they do, all the, not misinformation, but disinformation. I don't get it. Murdoch. To me, this guy is almost a war criminal. He has caused us such grief in this country.
Yeah.
Where does that come from? What kind of person are you? Why do you do that? Where's the sense of right and wrong? What about these politicians like Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz, and the countless others that have no fucking, I don't want to say balls. Don't you know what right and wrong is? What did your parents teach you? What are you going to tell your grandkids when you're older? What are you going to say? That you still, like Liz Cheney says, history, Trump will be gone one day, but history will remain. And what your role in history, people will not forget. Anyway, so I could go on. But I want to thank you, Glenn, for putting this together and including me, and welcome everyone to Glenn Kirschner's Team Justice Happy Hour.
Manja, let's go eat, drink, please. We'll get to some more speeches a little bit later on. And thank you to our host, the unbelievable Bob De Niro.
Justice matters.
Yes. Okay. We're going to start peppering in some comments because some people are going to have to leave before too long. And I was not going to let my friend Stephen leave before he addressed you all. So I don't have to take my notes out of my pocket, right? So this man, for those of you who don't know, is not just in that band. Right? I don't know. Is it a D Street, F Street? I forget sometimes. No, he is not only the E Street band, foil to Bruce Springsteen, Bruce's rock and roll consigliere, but his own band, the Disciples of Soul, that have been going on forever. And what I love about his music is that, I swear, I'm not making this up, the theme of justice runs all through it. And you know who put together Artists United Against Apartheid to fight South African apartheid. That was Stephen Vanzant. And don't get me started on the Sopranos and Lilyhammer and Little Steven's Garage. Frankly, what the world needs is a little more Little Steven. All right? And then he also has the campaign about turning STEM into STEAM. If people think we don't need the arts, what? We only need science, technology, engineering, and math? No. Stick a big fat effing A in there for the arts. Turn STEM into STEAM because we need the arts today more than ever. And I could go on for another hour because he is a rock and roll hero of mine. Read his book. I'm not here to sell his book, but I appreciate a little cut. Unrequited infatuations, the story of a rock and roll consigliere. So let me give the mic to my friend, Stephen Vanzant.
I just want to thank you, Glenn, and I just want to thank you and thank everybody here for what you do, because we nobody has any time anymore. Technology was supposed to give us more time, it ain't working out that way. So we want to really thank everybody here for what you do. And as far as the apartheid thing, Mr. Robert De Niro was a very big help to me on that. We should thank him for that. We were the ones who gave Nelson Mandela the fundraising dinner when he came to New York. And that was because of Bob giving us the Tribeca Grill right over here. Anyway, I just want to thank you all for what you're doing. And all I can say is, yeah, we can blame the bad guys, all right, because they're bad, but we shouldn't be surprised that they're bad, because they're bad, right? That's what they do. I tend to blame the good guys for not getting the job done, personally, okay? Where are the tough good guys, all right? That's what I want to know, right? Well, they're in this room, right? Right there. Right here. That's what we need. We need the tough good guys to stand up and get the job done, because, the bad guys are not going to change. They're going to stay bad. But there has to be consequences for the fucking crimes. Yes. All right? There's crimes all over the place and there's no consequences. So what happens then? Things just get worse and worse and worse. So anyway, let's try and, we try and focus on, let's try and encourage the good guys to actually do their job, and maybe there's things that start to change for the better. Anyway, thank you for all for what you're doing.
This is the best of public service. So I want to introduce my friend Sergeant Aquillino Gonnel.
I think if they are condoning this type of behavior, there's no accountability. It's bound to happen again. And next time it happens, it's going to be on us for not paying attention. It's going to be on us for not doing enough to hold those who did those things, orchestrated, planned, funded, and took part in the violence or the events that happened on January 6th. Then if they're not held accountable, this is going to have bound to happen again. Please hold those people accountable. I find myself in court several times a month, giving statements about what happened to me, because more than 40 people assaulted me on that day. I'm here to tell you that what happened to me, it did happen. It was real, it was dangerous, and if it wasn't because the action that myself and my colleagues did on January 6th, those same people who now tell you that nothing happened, they wouldn't have been alive today. So thank you. Thank you, Glenn and Robert De Niro, for hosting us and inviting us here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
To fight our fears, feel the love to drive our tears. Justice matters.
And I'm going to try to get through this introduction without taking a breath. You ready? AUSA from the Eastern District of New York from 1991 to 2002 as a mob prosecutor, FBI Enron Task Force, General Counsel for the FBI, Chief of the Criminal Fraud Section at the Department of Justice, Special Counsel Bob Mueller's lead prosecutor in the Trump-Russia affair, law professor for NYU, MSNBC legal analyst. The man can't hold a job. My friend Andrew Weissmann.
Thank you, Glenn. One of the things that I think about is what is it that we can do? I think it's very hard to get through to a whole range of people, and certainly in speaking on MSNBC, there's only a certain segment of the community that you can speak to, and within that parameter, I still think there's a lot that people in this room can do if they care about what could easily happen in 2024. All of us have a role to speak to people about what is at stake here, and not to have that kind of cynicism. It is a question of democratic values in our country. That is something that I think all of us can do, and it's something that we can take home and actualize. So anyway, thank you, Glenn. Thank you.
He is a fierce voice of journalism, fairness, integrity, but boy, he takes a position, and the position is pro-democracy, and I'm so thrilled that I can call Lawrence O'Donnell up and say a few words.
Well, I'll tell you, I feel like a fence sitter whenever I hear Bob De Niro say anything about Donald Trump. Then I feel like a fence sitter. Let me tell you why I love lawyers. With the little asterisks at the beginning that there's a misleading thing that my show's been doing for a few years now, is it's not adequately communicating to America that most lawyers suck. Okay, let's just get that understood, because we have the best of the best on MSNBC. When I was born in Boston, let me say that again. When I was born in Boston, my father was a Boston cop. And by the time I was in high school, before I finished elementary school, he was a lawyer because he did something that everybody said was impossible. He went to college nights and he went to law school nights at Suffolk College, Suffolk Law School, which was unaccredited at the time. And he got through it, and everyone told him he couldn't do it. My mother told him he couldn't do it. He did it. And so I've been hanging around lawyers and admiring lawyers since elementary school. I think I was 10 years old, sitting in the front row of the United States Supreme Court, watching him argue the case. I was 14, I think, when I was sitting in the back seat of Gennaro Angiulo's car in Boston. Jerry Angiulo was the godfather of Boston, and Boston was actually the place where we had the first mob trial in America with an informer. And the idea that, you know, the kid who was in the back seat of Jerry Angiulo's car could be sitting in Daniel Patrick Moynihan's office, choosing Mary Jo White to be the U.S. Attorney of the Southern District, choosing Zachary Carter to be the U.S. Attorney of the Eastern District, choosing Sonia Sotomayor for her first judgeship. That was just a constant awe-filled experience for me, because then we were seeing again the very, very best of the legal profession who would come in there for judicial appointments, U.S. Attorney appointments. And I just wish my old man was around to see Glenn Kirschner at 10 p.m. at night, to listen to Andrew Weissmann. He would be cheering these guys on as much as I do, and I'm just so lucky to have them and others in this room join me in the legal discussions there. And the reason I say to Glenn and everybody else is, you know, basically say whatever you want. You know, by the way, my trick, my advice to talk show guests is what I used to do when Keith Olbermann was asking me questions and stuff. I would use one word in his question and then just go wherever I want. That's the tip. Okay? Just use one word that sounds like you're answering the question. But, you know, they just make everything we do in those 60 minutes that I have the cameras on so much smarter, so much better. And the audience needs these people, and you have all been doing just a fantastic service. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Every time his bookers call, they're like, Glenn, are you available on? Yes, I am. On that, yeah, I'm available.
Inside we must believe there is truth in our decree, and the world will hear our plea. Justice matters.
Friend and former colleague, former Rico buddy from the DC U.S. Attorney's Office, and the Chief Investigative Counsel for the January 6th House Select Committee, my friend Tim Heaphy.
The January 6th Select Committee attracted an absolute A-team of people, not only the members themselves, who risked a great deal politically and personally to raise their hand for that assignment. The staff that we were able to hire left law firm partnerships or assistant U.S. attorney positions to take a lot less money and be away from their families and put that case together. So I stand here really because it was a crusade, it was a mission, and it attracted an incredible team. And my job was essentially to just sort of make sure that the trains ran on time, and it was kind of easy because they were so excellent. And I hope it mattered, right? It was really hard for us in the middle of the work, even during those hearings, to have a sense as to who was paying attention. The fact that we were able to start telling this story that I think you're right, Glenn, motivated the Department of Justice to start looking into the very same trail of evidence that we identified, that it was another step toward accountability. I think it mattered. I think it will continue. So I'm fortunate that I had a chance to be a part of that. I'm fortunate that I have a chance to continue to talk about that on occasion on television. So I just appreciate everybody paying attention. Keep paying attention. Democracy depends on participation and engagement, and people not getting apathetic, but actually doubling down and going toward the problem. fact that you're here shows that you get that. But everybody in America has to do that. If everybody in America votes, if everybody in America pays attention, we get much better and more responsive government. So keep paying attention, keep ringing the bell, keep talking to your friends and neighbors, because we all need to be a part of the solution. So, thank you. Thank you.
My dear friend from MSNBC, who is a real force of nature, so Mimi Rocah.
So I have an interesting perspective because I was a long-time federal prosecutor in, I think Andrew would say, maybe the third best U.S. office because we got Edie and I. But I'll say first. And then I was on TV, got the honor of being on shows with anchors like Lawrence O'Donnell, who is here, and who allowed me to try and explain to the country back in 2017 why what was happening wasn't normal, right? Because back then people didn't necessarily understand that what Trump was saying wasn't what a president should be saying about the Department of Justice. What he was doing and how he was trying to use the Department of Justice was not normal. So I had that honor and pleasure. And now I'm in office in law enforcement as a district attorney. And what do? I watch all of you on MSNBC and other stations too, but mostly MSNBC. You guys are doing a public service because we are educating people. You are giving people hope who need hope, that our democracy will survive, and that there is a really rational part of the country who understands that what is happening is not normal. So thank you, guys.
Justice matters. Justice matters.
I stop dead in my tracks every time he comes on the screen because it's not only the content and the expertise, it's the passion, it's the humor, it's the fearlessness. I love his commentary. Elie Mystal.
Wow, thank you, Glenn, for that wonderful introduction. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you, everybody who came for caring. And I know that is difficult because, trust me, caring about the rule of law is the kind of thing that gets your ass kicked on the school bus in high school. So trust me, from experience, I know how difficult it is to care about the things that we are talking about here tonight. And I appreciate you all for coming and caring about these issues. But there is something that I need everybody to understand. The people in this room, us here, friends, colleagues, we are in the minority. Not the minority of people in America who dislike Donald Trump. Donald Trump is horribly unpopular. We are in the minority of people who care enough to do something about it. Yeah. I need you to understand that we're in the minority, because living in New York, living in DC, living from most likely the places that a lot of you came from, it is easy to feel like we're in the majority. Most people agree with us. Most people chew with their mouth closed at the Starbucks. Most people are not, sporting Confederate flag, Zippo lighters when we're trying to get our morning coffee. We feel like there are more of us than there are. We are in the minority of people who care. And you have to understand what minority tactics look like. There are a few black and brown faces in this room. Ask them. Part of being in the minority involves being indefatigable. Because the majority, the people who are not us, the people who outnumber us with their apathy, with their, I don't want to talk about politics, I don't want to talk about football. The people who outnumber us with their apathy are legion. And to break them down, We have to use what every minority population in every part of this country, in every part of the world, has always used: tirelessness. That is how we break through. And you have to never fall back. You have to never give up on the job of defending democracy. Because we are going to win this thing one person at a time. All right? It's not going to be people like me, people like some of the people you've heard speak on TV, talking to people who already agree. It's going to be you on the ground, in the trenches, fighting with people that you know who don't care. And it's your job to make them care, and you can't ever stop. Yep. And that is your charge for 2024. Right. All right. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for caring. And I hope that part of what's happened for all of you tonight, as you've met some awesome people, I met some Vanzant, is to remember that you're not alone. You've got to fight individual battles, but you're not alone. There are many of us. We are strong, and we can get this done, but every one of us has to do our part. And so thank you for doing this. Yeah! Can tell, because I make more fun of him than anybody else. You know, this really is my bald brother. I love him dearly. Sometimes he gets too close to my wife and I get irritated. No, they're really, and you have to follow Elie Mystal, which is not easy, Pete. But every year he comes down to DC. We hold our annual Team Justice event right in the shadow of the U.S. Capitol, or as I call it, the crime scene. And he closes the show each year, and I love him dearly, and I'm so happy that he's going to close out the show for us. Pete Dominick.
Oh, yeah.
He's a little guy. He's a little guy.
Keep it going for my father. And all my opening acts. Robert De Niro, Lawrence O'Connell, Little Steven. We'll get a picture in a little bit. Yeah. Everybody's like, Bob wants a picture with you. I'm like, hold on, Bob. It's hard. I like to come in here. I came here. I don't like Glenn. Nor do I think justice matters. But I do like a free button, and I really want to introduce my daughter to Elie Mystal. So that's really why I'm here. But the point is, justice does actually matter. The work that he's doing and that many of you are here supporting really does matter. And this is the saddest truth, and Elie knows this, and everybody that spoke knows, everybody here that knows this. This is the saddest truth. We people here are the ones that we've been waiting for. We're it. That's it. And Glenn Kirschner is the change we want to see. Recently, I interviewed a guy who told me, a guy named Jerry Colonna, who's an executive coach. Some of you know what that is. I don't even know what an executive is, but he told me something that his daughter told me, and my daughter's here tonight with me because I think it's super important. He said to me, it's not enough to be an ally. It's not enough to be an ally. His daughter told him this after the George Floyd protest. She was out in the streets protesting like a lot of young people. It's not enough to be an ally. You have to be part of the conspiracy. You have to be working on the action to be the change that you want to see. Whether it's Bob De Niro or Little Steven or anybody else in entertainment that puts their political capital, as Glenn said so articulately, at the top, everybody has something to lose. We all have something to lose. I got involved in my local school board fight. And Glenn knows this because I reached out to him when it happened. Because we were fighting these horrible, racist, fascist, modern-day mafia types. And I spoke at the school board against them, and I posted on Facebook, and the people in my community know me because I'm on MSNBC with Glenn Kirschner. And because of the work that I was doing, because of the activism I was doing, the local fascists called Child Protection Services on me and said I was abusing my children. It was like, with all due respect, finding a horse head in your bed. They let me know who did it to me. They tried to silence me. It damaged my life, my marriage. It damaged... I can barely talk about it, but my daughter is here tonight, and that's why I'm here, because Glenn is such an inspiration. So many, Lawrence O'Donnell is such an inspiration. Thank you, Mr. De Niro, for doing this. You're an inspiration for actually being the change you want to see. When the detectives came to my house to interview my daughters to ask if I had done anything abusive to them, because they were trying to silence me. They will try to silence you because these are the tactics they use. My almost 19-year-old daughter, who's here tonight, said to this detective, in my living room, the lowest moment of my life as a parent, became the proudest moment of my life as a parent. She said to that detective, she said, before you ask me any questions, I want you to know that the only reason you're here is because my dad is an advocate for people not like us. That's why you're here. My dad is someone I respect. My dad is someone I care about. My dad would never do anything like that has been accused of him. They're trying to silence him. That's why you're here. And that's why I brought her here tonight, to meet all these people. Because not only are we the ones that we're waiting for, she and our kids are the ones we're waiting for. You don't role model this behavior. We can all sit here in our loft and whatever privilege we have. You better put your fucking capital on the line. You better listen to him and all these other influential people and walk the walk. If you can't rhetorically go to a microphone, say a thing, support somebody, if you can't be the change you want to see, if you can't follow and understand why justice matters is so important, you aren't doing it right. You aren't one of the ones we've been waiting for. But you, sir, are. I thank you so much for being an inspiration, for doing this. Mr. De Niro, everybody else that's come here, you guys are absolutely the ones we've been waiting for. We are so grateful to you for supporting his work, which is so important. I wish you weren't so successful. But I am proud that you are who you are, that you've done what you've done, that you've role modeled the change that you want to see for me and for so many other people. Thank you for getting us together tonight. I will see you at our next modeling shoot. Give it up for Glenn.
Who knew Pete could be profound and meaningful? Now, well, he could work on the comedy a little. You know, it's like he's going to be the whole package. He's going to be the whole package. I love Pete Dominick. I love Pete Dominick. I want to say a couple of things. First of all, thank you to all of you who are members of Team Justice, who support what Nilu and I do every day. So many of you have said it tonight, and I get feedback from all over the world, and people say, I don't know anything about the law. I'm not a lawyer. But when you explain the legal issues, I understand them. That is so energizing and so gratifying, and that's why we do this 7 days a week. And we're going to do it 7 days a week until we win the election in 2024. We can take a break because if we lose the election, some of us are going to be criminally investigated by a corrupt administration because that, you know what, has already promised that. You know, the guy who said I'll be a dictator on day one. I'm going to stop, but not before I thank again all of you democracy warriors, because you all are not only supporting our efforts, but you're doing everything you can, whether it's, you know, door knocking or phone banking or working the polls or donating to the candidates that you know are going to protect and preserve democracy, not try to kill it. So thank you for everything that you all are doing and for honoring me and us by coming here this evening. And then finally, I want to again thank Bob De Niro, who so graciously gave us this beautiful space and so graciously gave us his time and his energy and his thoughts to me, Nilu, and Kian. Thank you. So if you wonder how it is, I get all these wonderful messages. How in the hell do you go from way too early with Jonathan at 5 to 10 p.m. with Lawrence, 11 p.m. with Stephanie, then you're up the next morning for it? It's like, well, you know, I've got a really good partner in all of this. And so thank you to my beautiful wife. And one more time, thank you all for coming.
Love you, Glenn. Justice matters. My betting limit is $1. $1.